This isn't a normal van, because in the previous video, we installed a 3.2 litre VR6 engine. To do this, we had to remove the old 1.6 diesel engine, and then we could install the VR6 with a load of donor parts from an Audi A3. And it's safe to say, the result was epic. Oh my God! But we are nowhere near done because we want to create the ultimate Volkswagen Caddy. And to do this, we've picked up a load of Golf R parts to completely transform our van. From a brand new exhaust, stuff to fix this boring interior, to improvements to the suspension and brakes, and a whole lot more, all in the hopes of building the performance version of the Caddy that Volkswagen never made. Now, the first thing we're going to address is the exhaust, because if you remember from the previous video on our van, basically, we have no exhaust, and this is what it sounds like. That is antisocial. I think we can all agree that is too loud, so we've come down to the exhaust company to create a brand new stainless steel custom exhaust.
Well, it makes sense to make it look like an R32, as it's got an R32 engine.
So essentially, we've put the R32 engine in, and the R32, I'll put it on the screen now, has two big center sort of exhaust tips, and that is what we're going to do. We're going to cut a hole in this, you think?
Under here and under here.
So with our plan in mind, we could get the van in the unit and on the ramp. Okay, so if you can remember, this is where we left the exhaust in the previous video. We have two cats here, but then there is no rest of the exhaust. So we need to build a full custom section with a Y pipe that joins these two together, and then it needs to go all the way around, up here, and then we're gonna do like a sort of an R32 style exhaust tip. So let's get started. So to get the new exhaust built, the guys could start by making the new midsection. And as I mentioned, this needed a Y pipe and also a whole lot of TIG welding. Once the midsection was made, Josh could then get it fitted on. Then it was time to create our new rear section. And to do this, Lav could firstly start off by making the new silencer. And at this point, Josh could also make the new R32 style exhaust tips as well. And to make these exhaust tips sit properly in the bumper, we also had to cut out some holes for them. But then we could finally get the new rear section fitted on, and the guys at the exhaust company could finish up the job by welding on the exhaust hangers. Okay, Lav, when you're ready. So that is the exhaust done. Now, another thing you might have noticed about the van is that it doesn't have the bonnet. And the reason why is because firstly, we crashed the bonnet into the roof. As you can see here, there's a big dent. And also, there is a big hole that I had to make because the bonnet latch came undone and I couldn't take up the bonnet. So I had to reattach the cable through that hole. So we can no longer use this bonnet, which is a bit annoying. However, we have this new one. It is white. But we're going to be painting the van anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Let's get this on. Okay, so next thing we need to sort is the ride height, because our Caddy is sat very high. This is not a race van. On the rear, it's even worse. I mean, literally, that is massive. So, I bet you can't guess what we've got to sort that out, Jav. You'll never guess.
Literally got no clue, man.
No idea.
No
well,
idea.
I bet you guys don't know either. For those of you who watch the channel regularly, you will know that we absolutely love BC Racing Coilovers. These are amazing, 32-way adjustable, really well built. If you want to pick up yourself a set, you can check out the link in the description box below. But yeah, these are going to completely get rid of that wheel arch gap. And they're going to make our van look like a proper sports van, so let's go ahead and get these on. At this point, you guys are probably sick to death of seeing me fit BC Racing Coilovers to my builds, but honestly, when something is so reliable and it always works, why on earth would you change it? And this van is absolutely crying out for a sportier stance, so fitting these is a no-brainer. That's been in there for 200,000 miles.
And also, as you'll see later on, installing these coilovers is not as simple or as straightforward as you might think, because on the rear, this van has completely different suspension that I've never worked on before, which I'll get onto. But firstly, let's get both of the front coilovers installed.
Now the front coilovers are fitted, we can move on to the rear. Now, this is going to be a little bit different to any coilovers we've ever fitted on the channel, and that is because this van has leaf spring suspension on the back. Let me show you. So here are our leaf springs, what I was talking about, and this is obviously going to be a bit of a different process to lower this compared to your classic spring and shock. Now, on this leaf spring setup, I'll show you, our shock is here. That is our shock just there. And then the leaf spring goes from all the way here and it sits on top of the rear beam and it goes from there all the way to there. Now, to lower this van, what we have to do is basically put this leaf spring underneath the rear beam. It's currently sat on top of the rear beam. We want to sit it underneath the rear beam. And BC, in their kit for this van, they supply us with some pretty cool stuff to do that. So firstly, we have this. Basically, these studs and these plates are basically what's going to secure the leaf spring underneath the rear beam. So that'll sort of be sat under like that somewhere. And then secondly, we've got a shock, which looks a bit more familiar, and that will sort of replace the shock that's there, just like that. And then lastly, we have these. These are little plates, and what these plates do is they sort of will sit up there, sort of like that. And on these plates, they have like these little holes, and that is how you actually adjust the ride height through those holes. Bottom one's gonna be highest, top one's gonna be lowest, I think. So yeah, that's how we do it. It's a little bit different to normal. I've never done it before, but let's give it a go.
So I could start this whole process by removing the left-hand shock.
There's one old shock.
The next thing on the to-do list is to remove the leaf spring.
There we go. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that.
Wobbling.
Moves the whole wheel.
But it wasn't long before I discovered a genius design from Volkswagen.
Okay, so because they've got the bolts going in and the bolts have to go that direction to come out, right?
Yeah.
They've had to put these little rubber bungs in so that when you undo the bolt, it can go into that hole. They designed that rather than having the bolt come out that way. There's got to be a reason why. There he is. So you got to take them out first. It's like the design team just designed it like this, and then the mechanics looked at it and thought, you can't pick them bolts out, mate. And they're like, it's okay. We'll put these rubber bungs in the chassis rather than just, I don't know. Now that can come out. Come on. Hey. There we go. Oh, that's fallen off. Got it. And there is our leaf spring. So now it will, basically what we want is we want it to sit like that. That's what I was explaining earlier if you didn't quite understand the gist.
But with the passenger side leaf spring now removed, I could then move on to taking out the driver's side.
All done.
Now, whilst we could just go ahead and install the rear kit onto the van now, I decided at this point that I wanted to give the rear beam and all of the rear suspension components a proper refurb, as it's looking pretty rusty and dirty, and I couldn't stand to put the new parts onto a dirty rear beam. So to do this, we had to remove the rear beam entirely. Once both leaf springs and the rear beam were all removed off the van, we could then start with the refurbishing.
Okay, so the first things we're going to refurb are the leaf springs themselves. Now, we're just gonna get some wire brushes on there, clean it all up and then get it painted. But whilst doing this sort of work, it can be pretty taxing and it is important to stay hydrated, which is where today's video sponsor, Air Up, can really help.
In short, Air Up is a water bottle that flavours the water you're drinking using scent. And if you're like me and you forget to drink water throughout the day, Air Up is a great solution as it makes drinking water that much more enjoyable. So to get the bottle set up, it's very simple. Firstly, fill it up with water, then screw on the lid, and then finally place your chosen flavoured scent onto the top and then drink.
It actually tastes like wild berry. That is actually mad. I have no idea how that works, but that is brilliant.
Air-Up currently has limited Christmas holiday bundles that come with a free candle, so make sure to check out Air-Up before it's too late.
Okay, so that's our leaf springs now wire brushed and ready for paint. But if you want to make sure that you are staying hydrated using the most tasty and healthy way, make sure to check out Air-Up using the link in the description box below. And also you can save some money on your Air-Up with the discount code that is appearing on the screen right now during this Christmas period. But with all of that said, let's get started on the rear beam.
So before getting started on the rear beam, I firstly had to completely strip it down. So now the rear beam's been completely stripped, Jav and I could go ahead and clean up all of the surfaces with wire brushes. And it goes without saying, but this is a painstakingly long job that requires a lot of patience and perfecting to get it right. And once we were all finished up with the wire brushing, we could give the rear beam a clean with some brake cleaner. And then we could get it set up and ready for paint alongside all of the other parts that we'd prepped. And then to get started with the paint, the first layer to go on was the etch primer. And once I'd finished up with the etch primer, the final stage was to apply a few coats of gloss black. After I'd finished up with the paint, everything was just looking so much better.
Okay, so that is the painting side of the refurb now done, and the rear beam is looking so good. But now we have all of these lovely new parts to fit onto the rear beam before we can install it back onto the van, and then we can finally get the coilovers fitted as well. So we've got the new brake dust cover here, we've got new hubs for no reason other than they look good. That's literally the only reason I bought them. And we've refurbed the anti-roll bar as well, so that looks lovely. We've got new bolts, new drop links as well. So lots of cool stuff here to make this rear beam look practically brand new. Let's get it all assembled.
So we are really on the home straight now of getting this rear beam completely refurbished and ready to go back on the van. As I mentioned, we firstly got to get everything reassembled. And to be honest, this is the most satisfying part of this whole process, because seeing it all come together and just how good it looks with all the brand new parts, it is definitely very satisfying. I think we can all agree that the rear beam now looks sensational, but before we get it back on the van, there's a few jobs that I want to do first, starting with shortening our bump stops. And once that's done, there's a bit of cleaning I wanted to do as well.
So we are now technically ready to get the rear beam reinstalled with our lovely new coilovers, but before we do that, I actually want to give everything under here a lovely, nice clean. A lot of you get at me in the comments for not cleaning, so we're going to do it. We're going to get everything under here looking as clean as possible. It's not going to be perfect, okay, but we're just going to clean it up, make it look better. So that's the goal. We've got these brushes to agitate everything, and then this bucket of soapy water. We're just going to go ham, me and Jav, we're just cleaning this, so let's do it.
Once the underside was clean, we can install the leaf spring shackles, followed by the leaf springs themselves. And then we could get the rear beam and the BC kit fitted all together at the same time. Now, as we're doing this, we're making sure to install the leaf springs below the rear beam with all of the relocation plates. And after finishing everything up, it was looking incredible.
Well, there we go. That is the rear beam refurb now complete with our BC Racing shocks on the rear with the whole relocation system for the leaf spring. The leaf spring, of course, was on top originally, but now the leaf spring is sat lower and it is through the second top hole on our rear shackles. We've also got the new drop links in there, the new BC shocks in there, and the rear beam is just looking so good with that black paint. And yeah, I'm just loving this. Like the new hubs, it just looks like a brand new rear beam. I am so pleased. So yeah, now that is complete and looking amazing, we can move on to the next thing, which is a set of brakes. Well, if our Caddy wasn't already a race van, it definitely will be after we install these brakes. This is our big brake upgrade for the van, and all of this stuff is the exact same setup that you'll find on the Golf R32. The same car which we styled the exhaust off, this is the exact brake setup you'll find on that car, and the brake calipers are absolutely massive. I mean, just look at how big they are. This is going to be a huge upgrade. This is going to give us so much more stopping power. I mean, just look at the size of that brake disc. I mean, it's absolutely huge. We've got some EBC Blue Stuff pads here, which are a really good pad, really solid brake pad. Again, the massive turbo groove discs with dimples and grooves, and all of these calipers as well have been freshly refurbished by the guys down at 360 Alloys in this gorgeous gloss black. I just wanted to go for an understated vibe with the brakes, and I think the gloss black looks amazing. So yeah, I can't wait to get all of this stuff fitted. I think we're going to start with the rears. Let's get cracking.
Now, if any of you are after wheel refurbishment or body work done to your car, then make sure to contact 360 Alloys with the link in the description. They always smash it with these refurbs. But as for installing these new rear brakes, if you're wondering how on earth I can just install them, it's because these brakes are a straight swap. You can literally just bolt these brakes on with no modification. But once I'd installed the first side, I could then finish up the rears by installing the next side.
So that is the rear brakes now fitted, and there is just something very satisfying about having a refurbished brake caliper with new brake discs, new brake pads, new hubs, new hub nuts, a brand new refurbished leaf spring with your BC coilovers and your relocation plates that are all shiny, the new shocks, the new drop links, the anti-roll bar that's been refurbed, the custom shiny exhaust. It just looks so good under here. This has been a lot of work, but it is just coming together so nicely. Now we can move on to the fronts. This is going to look even cooler.
And that's because the new brakes we're about to replace these old ones with are absolutely massive. But before getting into fitting them, I, again, firstly wanted to give the wheel arches and our old hubs a proper clean up with some soapy water and some wire brushes. And also, if you could do me a favour and subscribe if you enjoy the videos, that would be much appreciated. Once that was done, it was then time to get our new huge front brakes installed. And whilst I was cracking on with one side, my mate Tom was doing the other.
So that is our brake upgrade finally finished, and just take a look at how awesome this is. It is absolutely massive. That is the world's biggest set of brakes ever fitted to a van. And we've cleaned everything as well. It looks so good in here. The coilovers are now clean, everything behind there. Not that you can really see it, but it's all nice and clean, and it just looks so good. Like, that is 10 out of 10. I'm so pleased with how those brakes turned out. They are just huge. Now, the only problem with our brake setup is that currently we haven't sorted out brake lines. As you can see, they are just dangling down, and that is because I wanted to get all of the brakes fitted onto the car first, just to see how the lines sort of measured up. And I've got an idea now about what we need, but I haven't ordered the brake lines, so we're going to have to wait until a future video to get that sorted out, because I don't want to spend any more time on these brakes. But they do look amazing, and when we get them working, they are going to give this van a whole lot more stopping power. But now that's done, there's an even more exciting thing we get to do, and that is to fit the new wheels onto the van, and they look incredible. Let me show you. So these are the wheels that we are going for on the van. They are absolutely gorgeous. These are a set of Golf R Pretoria alloys. I just think these are going to look absolutely gorgeous. They've been refurbished before I bought them. They've also been wrapped in Accelera 651 tyres, which I bought from TireStreets. You can use my discount code on the screen right now, by the way, if you want to get some money off tyres from TireStreets. But yeah, these Acceleras are nice, sporty tyres. They're going to give us the grip that we need in the corners. But these wheels are the main party piece. They look so good. Now, to quickly address something, I know a lot of you are going to be annoyed that I'm not doing R32 wheels because we've gone for a full R32 theme with this van, with the engine and the exhaust and the brakes. But I just think these wheels look a load better and I prefer them. So I know I'm mixing generations, but I just think these are going to look better and I'm going to prove it right now. Let's get them on. They look so good. Take a look at these wheels. If that isn't the most gorgeous wheel choice.
So after getting the other 3 wheels fitted onto the van, the last thing to do was to lower it down to the floor to see what our fitment was like.
This is where we find out if the fitment still is as good when we go down, and if the coilovers have been set to the perfect height. This is where we find out everything. Oh. No.
I'm pretty pleased with that.
Look at how that is sitting. That has got to be perfect. That, like the rears. Let's have a look at the rears.
I call that functional.
Yeah, I mean it could go lower definitely, but I quite like the fact that the rear has a little bit more arch because you can still put stuff in the back. Look, wait, hang on. Just look at how much better. Wait, look at how that is sitting right now. Mate, this actually looks so good. Like, this genuinely looks unbelievable. This is the best van ever. Can you imagine when this has got British, well, we're going to paint it in the next video, British Racing Green paint. We've got the brake lines sorted. It has an R32 engine with those massive brakes, the coilovers, and it's got a British Racing Green paint job and a hybrid bumper, which will be fitting in the next video as well. It's going to be sick.
I'm excited. Like,
this is a good van.
This was a good van before.
Yeah.
Now it's a really good van.
Mate, look at it. I can't believe how good that looks.
So after obviously being very happy with how these wheels turned out, I could move on to the final modification that we'll be installing on the van in this video, and that is these seats.
So these are a set of Mark 7 Golf R seats. Now, these, again, like the wheels, are not off the correct generation. They're not off the Mark 5 R32 like all the other mods we've done. But again, there is a reason why I went for these over the Mark 5 seats. If you take a look at this picture I'm putting on the screen right now, firstly you can see how beautiful the Mark 5 seats are. They're these gorgeous wingback Recaros, but the downside is that they're $2.5, $3 grand. They are just so expensive. So I thought I'd cut some costs and go for these Golf R seats, which also look a bit more comfortable. These ones are in really good nick. They've got Alcantara and yeah, they were £400, so a lot cheaper. So that's the reason why we went for these. Let's get them in and see what they look like.
So to install our new seats, the first job is to, of course, remove these horrible old ones. I also had to remove the seat bases, and on top of that, I wanted to give the floors a good clean as well.
Okay, so as for actually fitting these new seats, we can't just bolt them straight into the caddy, unfortunately. We've firstly got to install something else, and that something else is these seat bases. Now, these seat bases have come straight out of a Volkswagen Touran, this car on the screen right now, and a lot of people in the caddy scene will know about this upgrade. Basically, these Touran seat bases will allow a load of different Volkswagen seats to actually bolt straight into the caddy. So it's a relatively simple swap. We just bolt those two seat bases in first, and then hopefully the bolt holes on the Golf R seats will line up and we can just bolt them straight in.
So that's what I got on with next. I could start with getting those seat bases bolted in first, and then our new Golf R seats could go in.
Well, there we have it. the Caddy R is coming along leaps and bounds. This van just looks absolutely beautiful, and we're gonna make it look even better in the next video because we are doing the paint job, as I've mentioned. It is an absolute mammoth job, and it's gonna be an even bigger job on a vehicle this big. So if you don't wanna miss that, make sure to like this video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it massively helps out and it will make sure that you don't miss any future videos. But with all of that said, I will catch you all in the next one.